In this video, I'm going to politely rant about 9 graphic design mistakes that drive me completely nuts. And for this video, we're going to use an existing menu design that, yes, makes every single one of these mistakes. This is gonna be fun. This video is also sponsored by Squarespace, which is an all-in-one platform where you can set up a site, you can showcase your work, sell products, you can sell your time, all that good stuff, and we'll come back to them in a bit. But first, let's start with mistake number 1. The logo. Right, goodness me, where on earth do we start? Okay, so I'm not crazy about the giant overly curved text, mainly because reading it in a semicircle causes my eyeballs a degree of discomfort. And the illustrations are kind of cute, but in my opinion, they don't really represent the class of the place when you actually eat there. Like, it's really nice inside, and these characters, as cute as they are, they just feel a bit childish. I don't know, they just feel a bit out of place to me. However, that being said, this isn't the worst thing about the logo, and that brings me on to number 2, which is the awful use of negative space. So firstly, the way the characters are positioned inside the semicircular dome shape isn't a great use of space, and the same goes for the year and the established text that's been separated quite significantly. Like, it's all just weirdly positioned, leaving these odd pockets of negative space. And the phone number, like, we gotta remove the word dial because it's just something that honestly doesn't need to be there. I think everyone knows what to do with a phone number, right? Right, now onto the meat and potatoes. Yes, food pun absolutely intended. And first we're gonna look at hierarchy and structure. So the design uses these bands of color to define the different sections, although I'm not sure why the main part of the menu is titled All Day Brunch. And then there's another section specifically about their garlic and herb ciabatta, which is treated with the same green band. And that feels kind of strange. Maybe it's just me, but I'm not understanding the logic there. Also, this all-day brunch text is meant to be a heading. However, I think the script font in the sort of salmon color below actually stands out more. So the hierarchy is kind of in reverse. And a quick fix here would be to make the all-day brunch text a bit bolder, or given a bit more space, we could make it a wee bit bigger just to make it more prominent. And the same goes for the main menu title. Like, it's bigger, yes, but could do with being a bit bolder. Like, come on, man, you're heading up a menu here. Let's establish a little bit of authority over the other wordlings. Or maybe slightly controversial, does it even need to be on there? I mean, is someone going to sit down at their table, be handed a menu, and then ask, what is this? What is this strange piece of paper with words on? I don't know. I think most people would be able to figure it out. Most people. Okay. On to probably the biggest offender in this design, and that is the spacing, which in some cases is completely non-existent. It's like the text couldn't be closer together if it tried. Like, come on guys, a bit of personal space, yeah? So if you've ever heard me go on about giving parts of a design more breathing room, this is absolutely it. Now, I get that sometimes menus in particular can have a lot to try and squeeze into a small space, but an easy win here is to shift the logo at the top to the left, and then we've created space to shuffle up an entire section of food into that top right corner. Whereas right now, all that space either side at the top is just wasted. Now, before we move on to the next one, as I mentioned, this video is sponsored by Squarespace, a platform which is perfect for creatives, entrepreneurs, and business owners because Squarespace has all the tools you'll need in just one place. Plus, as well as quickly setting up an absolute banger of a website, you can sell physical or digital products through an online store, and being able to take payments through services like Apple Pay and PayPal, well, that is just convenient for everyone. There's also plenty of website templates that are fully responsive, so you don't have to worry about whether or not they're going to work on mobile. And probably my favorite feature, Squarespace Blueprint and SEO tools. And this is like a guided design system that enables you to create professional looking sites that are completely unique and built from the ground up, whilst also being optimized for SEO. So if you're interested, check out squarespace.com to get started with a free trial. And then when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/Dansky to get 10% off your first domain. Okay, back to the video. Now, following on from spacing, we have to talk about margins. Now, one way that I use margins is to define an area around the edge of the entire design so that any text isn't too close to the edge of the page, because this can cause issues when printing. However, using margins is also a great way to ensure that everything lines up just by snapping text and images to those margins. Now in this example, we have a relatively consistent amount of space on the left and right, but the content at the bottom is much closer to the edge, which honestly feels a bit tight and is also inconsistent in relation to the left and right edges. So that kind of consistency is definitely something that I would be looking to add to this design. Okay, so next up we have to talk about alignment, which as you can see here is all over the place. So yes, as you can see, the text in particular is fully committed to that central alignment. And don't get me wrong, I love me some central alignment, but not like this. This is just way too much. And some of the reasons why left alignment might be a better choice is firstly that scanning a lot of information is much easier with a left alignment, as once the reader's eyeballs reach the end of a line, they automatically know where the next line will start. However, this is not the case with central alignment, as the point where the next line starts will change depending on the number of words being used. So that kind of reset point where the user's eye would come back to on each line, that's going to shift around, which makes it harder to read. Also, as soon as you have something like a bullet point list, it just doesn't work in terms of scannability, if that's even a word. Plus, centrally aligned lists rarely ever look good from a design perspective. They always look terrible. It's just a thing. And lastly, having something like the pricing centrally aligned too, that just doesn't create a clearly defined edge on the right that on menu designs is especially helpful in separating the text into clearly defined columns. So an easy fix for this would be to space everything out a lot more, align the meals and their descriptions to the left, and align the prices to the right. This will help to create a more clearly defined structure, which will ultimately make it easier for someone to find and choose the right meal. Okay, next let's talk about fonts and how there are way too many fonts in this design. In fact, let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I think that's correct. So I counted 9 and almost half of those are in the logo alone, which isn't ideal. And this one's an easy fix, just use a better logo. That's definitely going to fix most of the issues. And again, to reiterate my comments from before, perhaps some bolder fonts to more clearly reinforce that hierarchy and structure. Also, the seasonal font being so fantastical that it collides with the sourdough, that's not ideal. Right, next we've got to talk about colors because they're not great, but they're not terrible either. Like, they fulfill the functional role of defining the headings and some structure, but honestly, and this might be a bit controversial, I just think they're a bit Like, they're not the worst thing ever, but I just can't help but feel that there's a better combination of colors that could be used, or perhaps just even black and white, which would be smarter and a lot cheaper to print too. Yeah, not sure about that one. Let me know in the comments, what do you think about the colors? Is it a yay or a nay? And what colors would you choose? Yeah, let me know. And lastly, yes, this one might be a bit of a nitpick. Don't know what's going on with Puppet Hand here. This one might be a bit of a nitpick. But my goodness, the abbreviations. Oh, too many. Specifically referring to AW23, like, come on, let's just write autumn winter for anyone who isn't down with modern day lingo. And the pricing, please can we go back to writing the currency? Like, I know it's usually obvious based on whichever country you're in, but at the very least, can we go back to using a more traditional format for displaying currency? Like, here, this meal costs £12.50, not 12.5. Nobody speaks currency like that, so why are we writing it like that? I don't know. Is this like a thing that one restaurant did and now suddenly everyone's doing it because it's trendy or something? Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm just being a grumpy old man. So hopefully you enjoyed today's video and learned a bunch of things that you can look out for on your next design project. A big thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring this video, and of course to you for watching. Take care, and I'll see you next time.